Good evening. Tonight begins our series of Thursday Night Thrive Training, or TNT. And tonight we are going to be training on open houses. So the caption for tonight's training program is Level Up Your Open Houses. We're going to talk about some of our policies from Bierman Realty, but also what Trek and the Texas Realtors, say that we need to do and keep in mind when we're doing open houses. So here's our agenda. So what we're going to cover tonight are these things over here: who we host for, why we do open houses, what our policies and rules are, how to be prepared, checklist, sample scripts, follow up and lead conversion, legal and safety reminders, and of course, materials and forms. So we always say, that we want to stay ready so we don't have to get ready. So this is very, very important to stay on top of, especially when you're trying to lead generate, because as we're about to find out why we do open houses, the main reason is for lead generation. So to get started, who can we host for? So Bierman Realty agents, and we're going to be updating our policies manual to reflect anything that we cover that we may see needs to be changed, tweaked, or whatever based on what the rules are and guidelines are. So Bierman Realty agents are allowed to host open houses for any Bierman Realty listings and for builders. We're also going to be doing for sale by owners. That's going to be a separate training all in and of itself. Let's talk about open houses for our listings and for builders. Only licensed agents can host open houses, which you guys already know. You have to have the permission from the listing agent, the seller, and or the builder. So if you're not the listing agent, just make sure the listing agent is cool with it and then their owner's cool with it. And then if you're going to do a builder, of course, you always get that permission. And then due to our E&O concerns, we do not allow outside agents to come host our open houses, and we're not going to be hosting there. So just to recap on who we host open houses for. So we had to get permission from the listing agent, who will get permission from their seller, or we're going to get permission from the builder and then notify the broker, which is me. Ensure the open houses are booked in MLS. This is super, super, super important. So as soon as you decide that you're going to be doing an open house and it's agreed upon, if that listing is in MLS, which if it's not, I would not do an open house for it, just saying. But if it's in MLS, which it should be, make sure within 24 hours of you agreeing to do that open house that it gets booked, because people do look on MLS to see what open houses are coming up, and you really need that. That's also a confirmation of acceptance that you're allowed to do that open house. So make sure you get that done. Confirm property access, showing instructions, directions, any neighborhood restrictions. So you've got to do some due diligence to kind of prepare for that. Familiarize yourself with the property, any defects, review the survey, make sure you know where the property lines are. You might have to pull the plat if it's in a subdivision. If they don't have a survey, make sure you know if there's any exclusions. That's super important because you don't want to be showing an open house and telling somebody, oh, look at this amazing wine fridge, only to find out later that it's not included. So you definitely want to confirm that. Check on your utilities. Definitely make sure that the utilities are going to be on when you're hosting your open house, because that's going to suck if you show up to do an open house and there's no electricity. So just make sure of what utilities are there. You also want to be super familiar if it is a home that is on a septic and a well versus public water, public sewer. You need to know those things. Verify if there's any alarm codes, gate codes, Wi-Fi passwords if you're going to need that. I don't know that you're going to need Wi-Fi passwords, but hey, if you're in a situation where you think you will need that, then just verify that up front with the listing agent, seller, or the builder. Verify where signage is allowed. We're going to find out in just a little bit what House Bill, was just passed that, can really be some hefty fines if we put signs in the wrong places. So we're going to talk about that. Why do we do open houses? Well, open houses are primarily a lead generation and brand building tool for you as the agent. A lot of agents have no idea why they're doing open houses. They just know, well, I'm gonna jump on the open house bandwagon and get out there and do an open house. Or some of them say, oh, I hate doing open houses. I don't have time for that. Not going to do it. Well, the smarter agents are going to get out there if they have time, and they're going to be lead generating. And this is a great tool. Open houses are the most powerful face-to-face lead generation tool for new and rising agents. Um, on the left-hand side over here, you can see three ways of lead generation: before, during, and after. So when you agree to do an open house, you have to understand it doesn't start on the day of the open house or 30 minutes before when you're setting up a sign or putting out some feedback forms. It starts the minute you decide, hey, I'm going to do an open house, and you get that approval and you get that MLS booking for the open house. It starts immediately, because before the open house, you're going to be lead generating by creating your announcements, your flyers, your signage. And by that, I'm before the open house, what I mean is if you have a listing or it's approved, that you can put your sign in front of the house only that says open house here Saturday 1 to 3, 12 to 3, whatever that case may be. That's how I do mine, because I know that if it's Monday and I'm going to have an open house on Saturday or Sunday, I want that sign out there, because anybody passing by that house is going to see, hey, there's going to be an open house there this weekend. It's just another form of attention and getting, preparing to drive traffic to your open house. Any kind of post that you do, reels, the email blast, the text messages, mail knocking, because I'm not a big fan of door knocking. I don't do door knocking, but I have created the mail knocking form of that, where you do your flyers, your invitations, and you put those in mailboxes. Do a VIP event, open up your open house an hour prior to what your scheduled time is. Just confirm it with everybody ahead of time, like your seller, your buyer, your builder, all that. But do a VIP event for your neighbors. That way you can put an invitation in their mailbox that you're mail knocking. Basically, they're getting your information. They're getting a invitation specially for them as a VIP. You're going to open up that open house specially for them before it even starts. So that's something we can talk about later, but that's an idea. So that's a way that you would lead generate before. During, you're going to be meeting people, buyers, and of course, they could be future sellers. You don't know. And you also don't know who they know that's looking to buy, sell, or rent real estate. You're going to be building instant trust, because when they come in, you're going to be knowledgeable about that property and you're going to be showcasing that property. And they're going to be thinking the whole time, wow, this person really took the time to learn about this property. They know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about. I want to work with them because look at how knowledgeable they are, and they're prepared. They're offering value to me. You're going to be capturing their contact information and hopefully setting up an auto search for them, getting that relationship going, because you're giving them something. You're giving them other houses to consider. You could be giving them resources. Maybe they don't have a lender. Maybe they didn't know that the first step to buying a home is getting pre-approved for a loan if they're not going to pay cash. Maybe they had no idea that if they're buying new construction, that if they go with a preferred lender of the builder, that there's added incentives to that. So you're giving them information and adding value, and that's gonna generate the lead during the open house. Afterwards, you're going to be providing additional information when you're following up. You're going to be adding them to your database. When you add to your database, you're growing your business, because you're putting your database is your book of business, and you're going to be able to cultivate the contacts that are added to that database. Hopefully, you're going to be turning those leads into buyers, sellers, renters, whatever the case may be. So those are three different ways before, during, and after that you lead generate. Okay, but wait, there's more. It's not just that. You're also on the right-hand side of the screen. These are some other benefits that you're getting as to why you do open houses. Visibility, brand building, authority, skill and confidence development, community and relationship networking, future listing tools, consistency and business discipline, neighborhood presence and market influence. I'm telling you, when you show up in a neighborhood enough times, it will become your market. It becomes your neighborhood. So if there is a neighborhood, a community, or some place that you really want to sell real estate in, find those builders, find those open houses, start creating that presence online in the community, doing your VIP events, making sure that your contact, your information is in the hands of the people that live there, and you've just created your market. So those are some of the reasons why it is very important to do open houses. Now, there's policies and rules in place. Open houses are not casual events. They are serious acts held in accordance to our license rules and guidelines. There are many, many, many complaints that get filed on real estate agents from actions at open houses. There are tons of misrepresentation. One of the top five most complaints that are filed with TREC against agents regard law of agency. Knowing who you represent, clearly communicating that to every attendee is critical at an open house. You have to identify yourself. You have to make it clear when that person comes in who you represent. They don't know you from Adam. You need to make sure that they understand. So here are 5 things that you want to consider when you're thinking about policies and rules of doing open houses. Number 1 would be your eligibility and approved. Again, only licensed agents can do open houses. For Bierman Realty agents, we do our own listings. Any listings that are owned by Bierman Realty, you can do open houses for those. You just have to get the consent of the listing agent, who will get the consent of the seller. And then, of course, builders. We want builders. We want builders. So builder listings, you get with that builder's rep and get their approval and consent. You notify your broker, which is me, of any open houses. And the best way to do that, I think, is when you, after you agree to do the open house, you have your approval and consent, start creating your flyer, send it to me for approval. Now, of course, make sure in MLS that your open house is booked. You want that done within 24 hours of agreeing to do that open house. Send me a flyer for approval. That's the best way to put me on notice that you're doing an open house. That way you have another set of eyes looking at that flyer, making sure that it's compliant with the advertising rules and TREC Rule 535-155. Agency, that's number 2, but it's so important. Know who you represent. You're going to be introducing yourself to all visitors and identifying who you represent. Know that information about brokerage services like the back of your hand. Make copies, and you're going to make sure that every person that you communicate with at the open house, make sure that IABS is in your packet that you send home with them, because come January 1st, we've got some changes. Again, we have to know the difference between customers and clients. Customers, you don't represent. You cannot give them advice. You cannot give them opinions. You owe them honesty and fairness, and you can give them the facts of the house. You can show the property and answer all the general questions about the property, but you cannot give them advice. You cannot give them opinions until they become a client, which is through written consent, which would be through a buyer's rep agreement or a listing agreement. In this case, it would be a buyer's rep agreement. Intermediary situations, always contact me so I can walk you through that and just make sure everybody's clear on what they need to do. We will do intermediary with appointment. So if we have a listing for Bierman Realty and you're doing an open house for another listing agent in Bierman Realty, and the buyer comes through and wants you to be their realtor, absolutely. That's the whole goal. We want you to be their realtor. So we're going to appoint you as an intermediary to that buyer. Safety. Do not host open houses alone if you're uncomfortable. If it's an area that you're super familiar with, you know the neighbors, you're happy, you know, it's comfortable. There are times when that would be fine, but there might be some times when you're not feeling too comfy about that. Always have somebody nearby that, or somebody that you can check in with, that knows where you're at, knows you know, you can kind of just keep watch on with Life 360 or whatever that is. Keep your phone charged, you know, do some safety check-ins, keep an exit strategy. Know how you're going to get out of there if you need to. Never turn your back on visitors or get cornered or blocked in. Leave the door open if you have to. If somebody comes up that you're feeling kind of odd about, leave the door open and stand by it. You know, I mean, that there's no problem with that. When the open house is over, lock up, secure the property, and notify someone that you're leaving, just so they kind of know when to expect you, and just, you know, always be alert. Always be alert. If I will tell you on a side note for Bierman Realty, if you're ever at a property and there's something really serious going down and you just feel like you have nobody else to contact or whatever, you can contact me at any time, or any one of us, and we need to know. Red folder, you know, call me and say, hey, I'm over here at 123 Main Street doing an open house, but I forgot to tell you that Mr. Smith is coming by to get that red folder. That tells me that there's an alert. You know, if you call me and you tell me that somebody's coming by to get that red folder and you forgot about it, I'm headed over to 123 Main Street, and maybe calling 911 on the way. So we just, you know, we can develop our own safety policies as we go along, but right now that is something just first and foremost that we need to keep in mind. Advertising, marketing, property knowledge. Be familiar with Trek Rule 535.155. You can look that up anywhere, know it, read it. It's not very long, but it's easy to remember. Just, you know, stay compliant with that. Property knowledge is a must. You guys, we cannot do open houses on a property that we know nothing about. I cannot tell you how many times I have gone to a property or have had somebody run over and show me and my client a property on behalf of a seller or a builder. And it looks terrible when we're asking questions. Is, you know, where's the property lines? Is this included? Is that included? What's the tax rate here? Where's, you know, what school district is this? You, whatever the case may be, and they don't know. It's horrible. So Bierman Realty, we're on a different level. So we're going to make sure that we ensure accuracy of what we promote and that we have property knowledge of any property that we rep, you know, where they're showing. Interview the listing agent, interview the builder rep, you know, for some key points and details. Hey, what can you tell me about this property? Hey, what's so special about this property? You know, hey, what's so special about this area? Hey, is there anything exciting coming to the area? You know, any big businesses or whatever? You know, what can you tell me? You know, what are some key points I need to make sure that I drive home with anybody who comes through that door? Know the HOA, the upgrades that are in the property, taxes, exclusions, survey dimensions, all of that good stuff. If there's a floor plan available for that property, make sure that you provide that. Verify showing instructions, gate alarm codes, and restrictions. So nothing's worse is showing up at a home and you find out, oh, there's a gate. I don't know the code, or hey, you open the door and there's an alarm. We've all done it. It's going to happen. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it's going to happen. So just be prepared. Branding and signage. Okay, Texas House Bill 3611 went into effect September 1st, 2025, and the penalties are very, very steep, very steep. So make sure you are sticking signs where you're allowed to stick those signs. And, you know, they refer to them as bandit signs, and that you can't put them in public roadways and right of ways and things like that. So, doesn't hurt to look up Texas House Bill 3611, familiarize yourself with that, and just make sure that you're doing what you need to do. I think where the issue really comes into is when agents leave signs out. They put them out maybe in the morning or whatever, or they put them out before the open house, and maybe they're going to have an open house the next day and they leave them up like overnight. They don't come back and get them, whatever. Some HOAs or some areas are more strict than others. Just be mindful, be careful. I mean, if you're putting them out before your open house and you're picking them up when you leave, you shouldn't have any problem. Count them. I know that you put eight signs out and you're going to pick up eight signs. If you put out seven, pick up seven. If you put out 12, pick up 12. Just make sure that you do what you want to do, because those fines are really big. All right, how to prepare. I always say plan, print, pack, and practice. Okay. Plan by confirming, permission with the seller or the builder. Notify the broker. You can do that by sending me the flyer for approval. Ensure the open house is booked in MLS. Review the listing details, survey, disclosure, exclusions. Create ad content, social media promotions. Identify where the signs can be placed on how. That's just pre-planning. That's doing your due diligence and pre-planning. Print. You got to print some things, right? You got to print your flyers, the MLS sheet, feature sheets, feedback forms, IABS. I always print some buyer rep agreements. Print your short form. It's only one page. Print them and keep them with you, because if you have somebody comes in there and says, I'm ready to roll. I want to make an offer on this home. Ask them, you want to make an offer on this home? Yeah, I want to make an offer on this home. Okay, great. I happen to have a buyer's rep agreement right here. Let's fill this out and let's put together an offer. So you can definitely do that. Keep those with you. Always keep those forms with you. Neighborhood info, amenities. You might want to make a binder instead of printing all that stuff out and sending it with people. Just print you out a set of whatever it is that you want to make sure that they know about the neighborhood, the amenities, the property, whatever. Put it in a binder. That way they can look at it, they can review it, they can take a picture of it. You can tell them, hey, I'll send you a copy of this, after the open house, I'll email it to you. Stuff like that is very, very good for you to be connected with them. Ask the builder up front for their incentives or any specials and get printouts of them. A lot of times they'll print them for you and you just go by the office and pick them up. Something I didn't say in here in this presentation, but when you're doing an open house for a builder, and I'm going to say this for those in the back like 3 times, when you do an open house for a builder, when you go to the house, go by the office, find out who is working that day. Get their cell phone. Text them, hey, so and so, what's your cell phone number? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I just sent you a text message. Why are we doing that? Because when you go to that builder open house and Mr. and Mrs. Smith walk in, because you're going to try to find out everybody's name who walks in, and I don't care if they're interested in that home or not, you're going to text that builder, you're going to text that rep and say, sending you Mr. and Mrs. Smith, sending you Peggy Doobie, sending you Peter Parker, whatever that is. You're going to send those names by text to whoever the sales rep is in that office, because that does a couple things. Number one, it's registering those people with you, because sometimes they're going to tell you they have a realtor and they really don't. And then they're going to find out later that they like you, and then they're going to tell you the truth and you're going to become their realtor. But you want to make sure that you're registering those people with the office. So there's that. The other thing is it makes you look good to that sales rep, because they're thinking in their mind, wow, that agent is amazing. That Bierman Realty agent that did that open house, they're really working it. They're working that open house. They know what they're doing. They're sending the buyers to us like they're supposed to. And those other realtors that did the last open houses for the last month, I never even heard from them. So I don't know if they got any traffic or not. So you want to make sure that you do that. So again, when you go to a builder open house, stop by the sales office, find out who's working that day, get their cell phone, text them, and make sure you text them as the open house is going along who stopped by. because you want to build that relationship with them. Okay, so packing, you're packing, these are some of the things that you're packing. Signs, clipboard, binder, phone charger, don't forget your pens, sanitizer, stuff like that. Practice. Okay, so you're going to practice, right? You're going to set aside some time and you're going to practice greeting those attendees. Who do you represent? Why are you there? How can you help them? You want to make sure these buyers have no idea when they're walking into an open house, they have no idea who you are, first of all. And you can tell them who you are, but they have no idea what to do with that information. You have to help them. You have to guide them. You have to say, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. This is how I can help you. And this is what we're going to do. You have to set the expectations that you're going to give them a tour. You're going to answer some questions. You may ask them some questions. And then at the end of that tour and the Q&A session, you're going to ask them for some feedback. You're going to ask them for some feedback. And, when they do that feedback, you're going to tell them, if you don't want to give me your personal information, that's fine. You can give it to me if you want to, but I'm going to make sure you have mine. You're not going to be a used car salesman. You're not going to ask them if they're, I mean, you can ask them if you want to, but I don't ever ask them if they're working with a realtor. I don't ever ask them, certain things like that in the open house, because the thing is I want to build their trust first. And I know most of the time they're going to lie anyway because they don't want somebody breathing down their neck. I want to make sure, I want to show them why they want to work with me. Okay. And the way that you do that is you show them that you're knowledgeable, you're prepared, you're giving them something of value, and then you can start feeling it out for yourself how to build that rapport. Do you live in the area? Do you have a home that you're trying to sell? What brings you to this neighborhood? Things like that. But at the end of the day, that's stuff that you don't need to know right off the bat. Right off the bat, you want them to know who you are and how they can work with you. Here's some sample scripts. I mean, you're gonna figure out your own, but I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that you can say things. Hi, welcome to our open house. I'm David, the listing agent. I represent the seller. I'm here to give you a tour and answer any questions you may have. Let's take a look around together, and then before you head out, I'd like to get a little feedback from you for the seller. Sound good? Things like that. Or, hi, welcome in. Thanks for visiting today. I'm Anna Bierman with Bierman Realty. I do not work for the builder. I'm here to showcase the home to potential buyers and answer questions. I help buyers navigate the new construction process in many different communities. So see, you're letting them know that if they don't like this community or like this builder or like this house, you can help them with any community. But just so you know, if at any point you would like me to become your realtor, I can do that if you're not already working with a realtor. You can say things like, hi, come on in. I'm Rudy with Bierman Realty. I help buyers navigate the new construction process by showcasing the home, answering questions, and I do not represent the builder. I'm here to be a resource for the buyer if you're not already working with a realtor. Or hi, welcome in. I'm Betty. Thanks for stopping by today. I represent the seller here, so feel free to ask me anything about the home while you explore. I'll check in with you before you leave to give you an information packet and to see what you think. So, it's just whatever you want to do. But the main thing is, I think the most important script that you need to practice is what are you going to say to people when they come up? You got to talk to them, you got to engage to them, and you got to be confident. And you have to let them know that, you're in charge. This is your event. It's your party. You're the host of the party. They came to visit your party. So you need to let them know who you are, why you're there, and what you can do for them. And then the rest is easy because all you're doing is showing a beautiful house. That's all you're doing. You're showing them the cool things about the house, telling them about the area, the amenities and all that kind of stuff. And you've done your due diligence, you've done your research. So that part's going to be easy. That part's going to be easy. So just have fun with it. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. Meeting people can be a lot of fun. Doing this kind of stuff can be a lot of fun. And if you are not loving it, if you're not enjoying it, if you're scared or you're just hating life and you don't want to be there, it's going to show. So just embrace it and enjoy it, have fun. Open houses can be a lot of fun. Follow up, convert the leads, send thank you notes. You can do it by text, email, do it within 24 hours. You need to follow up fast. People work with who stays in front of mind. So 24 hours is usually the time frame you want to reach out. When you reach out to them by text, you can include your digital business card. That makes it easy for them. Even if you did send them home with everything that had your name and number on it, that digital business card just adds another layer of easy to them. Share another tip or note about the neighborhood. Hey, I just thought I'd tell you. I'm not sure if I told you that they're putting in a water park in spring or, whatever. Whatever the case may be, find a nugget, find a little nugget to give to them. Offer to schedule a free buyer consultation. Again, remember, consumers have no idea. They think we make a ton of money and they think that we're super expensive. So the buyers have no idea what it costs to work with you. So any opportunity that you get to let them know, hey, I can help you. It's not going to cost you anything. I do expect a 3% commission when I represent a buyer, but hey, I'm going to get that from the seller. I'm pretty confident in my negotiating skills that I'm going to get that from the seller. So you don't have to pay me anything up front. But, in my buyer's rep agreement, it will spell out that, I will be disclosing what I expect to make, when I sell a house. But however you want to say it, um, we're going to do training on that as well. That's going to be a big training that we're going to be doing. Um, Offer to send similar homes and set up an auto search. Setting up an auto search is a cool way to get them, because you don't need a buyer's rep agreement to do that. Okay. You don't need a buyer's rep agreement to send them some similar homes or set up an auto search. You don't need a buyer's rep agreement to offer, hey, if you have a home that you want to sell and you need to know what it's worth, I can do a market analysis for you. There's no cost in that. But again, remember, the consumer doesn't know that. You have to tell them that. You're driving the bus. You have to tell them how they can work with you. Add value, stay in front of them, follow up fast. You can offer resources to them. Hey, I remembered when you were at the open house the other day, you mentioned something about that you needed a surveyor. I've got some resources. Would you like me to email those to you? So that gives you another way to get their email address. And again, stay in front of them. Okay, so those are some ways you can do that. Okay, so that's kind of concluding the open house training. This is the open house feedback form that I use. This is uploaded in our Facebook training, our private Facebook group training. It is under a tab called Files. There's a PDF and you can plug that into Canva or whatever if you want to and put your own stuff on it. But I don't put my name or anything on it just because I keep this. So they fill this out, and usually anytime when I tell somebody, listen, you don't have to give me your private information unless you just want to. I'm just going to make sure you have mine. But they always seem to put their information on there. They put their phone number, they put their email. I mean, it's kind of like, don't sell them. If you don't sell them, they respond. Okay, so I don't know if anybody's even still on here or if anybody can pop in, but I now wanted to open it up and see if anybody had any questions. Okay, well, I guess nobody had any questions. So that will conclude our training on open houses. And I look forward to seeing you guys next Thursday night at 7:30. And please let me know what topic you would like covered at that one. And we will see you next time for Thursday Night Thrive.